And
we should
one
be off.
and a two and a 1, 2, 3. We are early, but we see that Miss Xenomorphet is not. I mean, she's very early. She's extra early. And good to see you, Tartarian Vagabond. Good to see you from Australia. I hope those fires are doing well. Miss Tracy, great to see you. Hello from South Island of New Zealand. Well, bless you too. Errol Zildadaro, hi, there's our KK. Oneness, Rosemary in the house. Dana Green, no one you know. Christine Love, good to see you. Dio the Enigma. I like that word enigma. It just, it's fun to say. It's just fun to say. It kind of rolls out the mouth like it's interesting. Raven, Day of the Cow. Solar eclipse.
Yeah, absolutely. How many of you guys know Enigma, the music group? They were a favorite of mine for a long time. Just really cool stuff.
Look, there's Israel. Hola, Israel.
Hola, ¿cómo está? Figured we might as well get going with this because there's so much craziness. We're coming to a peak. It feels like we're coming to a head. Something's going to blow is what it feels like.
Well, look what solar eclipse says, 24 hours left. We'll see. Hopefully it won't actually be announced. Hopefully things will keep gliding and there'll be some hiccups and we'll all get through it okay. I'm hoping for no major disruptions because there's a lot of lives on the line.
Yeah, the Polish psychic yesterday was seeing an explosion in the Middle East that is massive and leaves people stunned. So let's just send our prayers out there for peace and that the world will awaken to all the crazy manipulation that has gone on. And may we all have peace and find our way together. We could do it. We certainly could do it, but we just need to have a change in the way the world is run.
I think it makes a difference, and I'll keep saying it every time we come in on here because I want the intention to always be set that we're coming in here to make the world a better place with our energy. Our energy being out there helps more people have better days, do better things, do kinder things, and help one another and help other people where they see they might need help.
Yeah, so Dio the Enigma, hyped to see what you have uncovered in your investigations into the etheric ice walls. Yeah, absolutely. Well, what we've gotten is that we're not the only one of these Walden, realms.
Yeah, right. There's several rounds, but they're not all the same dimension. They're different dimensions. Some actually heavier and some lighter, but there are many dimensions on this very large planet. So when they talk about flat Earth and they do the measurements and they point it out and they say this does not make sense, they're absolutely right because Earth is way bigger than what they say. So we just have, this is our little slice of heaven where we're at right now, but there's many others.
Yeah, Enigma was a great group. I thought they were just different, very different, peaceful for the most part. But very cool music. I like different cool music, but then there's classics that are great too. And I do anticipate putting some new music up on Heart's Home at some point. We do have probably like 12 to 15 432 hertz pieces of ambient guitar music up there, and we do intend to do a lot more. Let us start over here. So a northern natural gas line transmission line ruptured at 1:43 p.m. Friday near Willow River in Pine County, Minnesota. Minnesota's obviously a place been focused with all the protests ongoing, the battles between ICE and some elements of the public. Then we get a natural gas line explosion that you could see right here. Is it just nothing? I mean, this is just an accident? Holy cow. Do you guys see what I see? Do you see?
Yeah, it looks like a demon pulling the...
This looks like a demon in here. Holy crap, that looks like a djinn.
It looks like a djinn organizing the fire.
It really does. That looks just like a djinn. I gotta take a screenshot.
Yeah, we're gonna take a screenshot of that because we've had that in the video that we did do that had a djinn in it. It looked just like fire. It looks just like this, and this is what they do. They're just not very nice entities, and they're found all over, and they're summoned. And I think it's a layer of reality that, well, no one likes to talk about, but they're there. And part of the trauma that we're put through in this world is to give them food. I mean, it's really pretty horrible.
Yeah, and of course, it's locking up now that I'm going to look at. And this is also what they do.
Yeah. Hold on, hang on, guys. We're getting locked up.
Get the sage. It sure does look like a djinn. This is the reality that we're stepping into. You know, this type of thing would have been thought to be crazy, of course, in a lot of our lives, during a lot of our lives, but not during the olden times and not where we're going now, because people are going to realize that we're not alone. Oh no, we're not alone at all. There's a lot of other entities here, and they seem to be interfering with my computer as I say that. I hope you guys could still hear me. I'm going to actually put, yeah, okay, I think it's still moving. One mischievous entity. They are mischievous, and boy, they hate being caught out. And this one obviously did. Now I'm kind of stuck here, guys. Let's see. It'll clear itself. Here, I'm going to
you do that.
Probably Control-Alt and delete this.
Yeah. Bear with us,
go.
guys.
Okay, now we're okay.
Okay.
Yeah, that's what I had to do. They don't want to be caught out, these things.
No, they don't like being pointed out.
So, yeah, pipeline explosion, Minnesota, a little bit north of Minneapolis, where all the anti-ice rioting is occurring. It's just a coincidence. No, it's not a coincidence. There are no coincidences. As you see here, officials telling everybody to stay inside, be careful. Emergency crews on the scene. The fire is still out of control. They haven't confirmed the full extent of the damage yet. Wow, little crater there, yeah. Giant fireball, flames shooting 60 plus feet, shook houses for miles like a jet engine on steroids. Natural gas line blew, no injuries. Evacuations in progress, 500 plus without heat now. Yeah. You know, this is how it works. And a lot of times things that are mysterious and days gone by would have been attributed to just being an act of God, or maybe some would say a demonic act. Well, yeah, there are demons, and we never, doubted that. We know we've encountered many demonic entities. We do kind of on a daily basis. They're all over the place. So, this doesn't surprise me at all, guys. Not at all. But at the same time, there's so much going on. Minnesota, of all places. Then we have this going on too. This is being heard and reported in many places. Over the years, there's been a lot of strange sounds, strange booms. Right now, I think there's an awful lot of military aircraft that are up in the air. You could be hearing a lot of sonic booms, but some of it sounds more like shooting.
Well, folks who live around here say that those noises come from across the street where I'm standing, across some of their homes, even behind these woods, and down the street. What they want to know is who's causing them, what's behind them, and how to make it stop.
I'll hear them right away and go, what in the world was that?
It's not the first time Rick Diaguano has heard it.
That sounds like cannon fire.
Or seen the flashes of light. Sometimes you think they're coming from the front.
I definitely know the 2 or 3 came from that way because I could see the flash. This one seemed more this way.
His cameras capturing them all. April 2025, January 4th, January 10th, just a few of the events he has witnessed.
So, what's going on? Again, this is part of a much bigger galactic war. It's an intergalactic, interdimensional war that's getting pretty hot right now.
And we've heard a lot of other people too, hearing booms. We've heard our own booms. I think there's
out here a lot.
I think there's definitely something going on when it comes to, all across the United States. And, I don't know how many of you have heard booms lately that you can't really explain. And if I let my imagination run wild here for a minute, I kind of feel it's some testing going on, and testing even the camouflage weaponry. I think that there's something going on with these booms, and we're going to be the last to know.
Yeah, absolutely. Good to see you, K-Heads and Max. Pete, welcome. Yeah, Jets, absolutely. Yeah, could be. There could be a lot of things going on. I think there's, like, in most cases, when we talk about, is it extraterrestrials? No, it's demonic. Well, it could be both. That's the reality.
Thank you so much, Max. We appreciate that.
Yes, thank you for your support and being part of this family, Max. We truly do appreciate all of you. It's, okay, so Lee in North Florida, it's getting weekly. KK up in Washington State, north of Seattle, they're getting that at night.
Yeah, that's interesting. It's coming at night. Ours, it seems to be mostly in the morning, sometimes maybe in the middle of the day. It is very, very interesting. I think it's happening all over, and at least we don't know what it is for right now. I do think there's definitely something behind it. And yeah, Max says thanks for asking questions, and we're going to keep asking questions, and we're going to keep pointing things out as long as we have you guys to help back us up. There is no us without you, so we all need to be here. We will keep asking questions.
Yeah, absolutely. Listen to this. NATO plans for fighter jet dogfights over Greenland as Kremlin issues extraordinary statement to oppose Trump takeover. U.S. lawmakers scramble to Copenhagen to reassure Danish and Greenlandic leaders. So NATO is bringing troops into Greenland in case the U.S. goes to take it over. Wait a minute. We are part of NATO. We're, in fact, the biggest part of NATO. And so you literally have French President Macron, saying you better not. And you have literally Denmark sending in fighter jets and troops and possibly others. This is kind of something that you never would have probably thought could happen, that NATO could be fighting itself, so to speak.
Right. And pointing out the elephant in the room, it must be done. Yeah, and I kind of like elephants. I favor elephants. I don't know if that makes it worse or better or anything, but yeah, you have to keep asking the questions because that keeps the ball in their court. As long as the ball is in their court, the karma's on them. They have to come up with something, some story, and eventually karma does catch up.
Yeah. And I do think fault lines are getting ready to rip. I do agree, totally. I think they are kind of overdue. I think our consciousness has stalled some of these events. But yeah, this is really wild. Russia said that they consider Greenland to be Danish, and they have no intention of taking over Greenland. But NATO allies, including Britain, France, Sweden, Germany, and Norway, announced on Wednesday they would deploy troops, including a lone British soldier, to the Danish Isle as part of Operation Arctic Endurance. So Britain, France, Sweden, Germany, Norway, and Denmark all bringing troops to Greenland in case the U.S. wants to go take it over. This is just, again, something you probably didn't expect to see unless you're really gifted with foresight.
I know there's that. And Yeah, really, really quick, Jen. Yes, I see that beautiful glittering ball with all the colors in the wintertime a lot of times and a clear night. And Ginger Ale Brit says, we had a ton of loud booms 2 nights ago, rattling. Yeah, us too, rattling the windows. It was just not normal. And sometimes late at night, just laying there. And I guess you live by Lewis McCord, but not that close. Yeah, I know. I mean, those booms that rattled the windows and everything, that's uncalled for.
And then Congressman proposes that Greenland's become the 51st state and actually has a bill to make that an actual move. Has definitely alarmed some European experts. This is Randy Fine. He confirmed on Monday that his bill would give President Trump the authority to take Greenland by force, to annex it. The Polish psychic he was seeing yesterday, and I didn't get a chance to look at his that he had today. He did live today, I think, our 2 p.m. Central. Curious to see what else he got, but he's basically said that they're intent on starting the war, and that it's coming, and that there would be an explosion in the Middle East. That would be something we might equate with the size of a nuclear explosion, but he wasn't sure if it was nuclear or not. And again, not just what we've gotten, but other people too say that the galactics will not allow a nuclear explosion. But, to stop other things, directed energy weapons, and rods of God is a reality. And then those hypersonic missiles that Russia has, and we've seen them, they almost look more like some sort of energy weapon. They move so incredibly fast.
And why does he need Greenland so desperately? I mean, is it the sled dogs? Is it the snow? What is it?
The rare earth metals, the gold, the silver.
Positioning?
Yeah, from a military standpoint, it is key. But, even bigger key is an article that we're coming to shortly here. Trump floats new tariffs in order to acquire Greenland. So he said he may impose tariffs on countries if they don't go along with Greenland. We need Greenland for national security, so I may do that. Obviously he knows things that the public doesn't know. And I know he knows the plan to basically weaken the U.S. to have us lose in a war against especially China and the BRICS nations. That would enable, how do you conquer the U.S. has always been the big question, with 340 million people and 400 plus million guns, not easily done. And all the advanced weaponry. This is why they've been bringing in millions of people across the border for years, and it accelerated under Biden. It's always been the plan to weaken us as much as possible, cause internal conflict, and then steamroll us when the time is right. Well, you could see right now, it looks like it's almost going to be the entire world against us and perhaps Israel. It's just wild to watch this transpire. So, if he understands that that's been the plan the whole time, is he trying to circumvent that, or is he playing into it? Is this part of that?
So thank you so much, Exploring Light Warrior. Chris says, thank you so much for continuing these live vids and for always working to inform us or reconnect us all in love. Well, you're welcome. And I think that's a really important thing to keep pointing out. We are connected with love, and we are going to make a difference. And Jen had a very valid point. She's concerned because John is far away when he works, and she is at home, and she's worried if something happens, they're going to be separated. That's a valid concern. But you know what we do, Jen? We talk about that, and we grab it, and we name it, and we say that that's not going to happen, and we put it out into the universe that somehow, some way, you guys are going to be okay and together and not separated. So just keep saying that into the universe.
Yeah, thank you so much, Chris. We really appreciate you too. Yeah, it was a busy day today. We were both kind of tired from a long day of work, but man, there's just too much to not do alive. There's just too much happening. And it's just, a lot of this is kind of like Twilight Zone. look at what you have here. Carney said the two countries, Canada and China, reached the preliminary but landmark trade agreement to remove trade barriers and reduce tariffs. Yeah, absolutely. Because, again, he's another, just like Trudeau, they're weefers. They're totally on board with shifting power to China. And this is why Canada's done what it's doing. And now they're embracing Canada. Canada's embracing China. China's embracing Canada. They're really doing favored nation status with each other. And there's been rumors for years that I do think are true of Chinese troops in Canada.
Yeah, I think they have been there for a very long time, and there's plenty of video. And and why are they there? Why do they have to be here? Why has it been so easy for them to buy land in critical key points here? And everyone in the government had to have been in on it. Whether they might say they're on the left or the right, but they're all in on it.
Curian Vibes, great to see you, Talisha. I hope there's nothing wrong there with the chest pains. You're probably just sensing the energy. It is pretty heavy. It really is heavy right now. Hey there, Scott. Good to see you. Here you go. With all this going on, all of a sudden, landmark deal between China and Canada. And if Canada is to the point where they are hosting Chinese troops, which, again, what happens? What happens in those prophecies, whether we're talking Alois Ermeiler or Henry Groover or Washington's vision, it seems that, the Canadian border is part of how the BRICS nations, China especially, sends troops over. Not just, it's not just Mexico and also landings from ships, but also coming through Canada. So, Canada being closer to us than Greenland, if Canada is firmly on the side of the BRICS nations, that's not a good thing for the USA. But in reality, again, we need to get the people of the world to recognize all this. This is 100% planned for a very long time, perhaps as far back or farther back than 1871, when Albert Pike said there would be 3 world wars.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's a lot there. And, let's see, Trump said he was going to build a gold dome. I wonder if, I heard that a couple years ago, KK, from the guides, and they said that was already built, and we just weren't made aware of it.
Yeah, and again, there's a lot of ultra-terrestrial, I like to use that word, tech that's being used, as this is a much bigger war. We have what's being done for show to some degree with the people of the world, but the reality is there's other groups of very powerful ultra-terrestrials that are literally playing chess with the humans.
And it's not fair a lot of the time.
No. So, yeah. And even Trump also said that was part of the key to the Golden Dome. I think he reiterated that today. He said Greenland is a key part to that Golden Dome. It's kind of interesting that there's now the second Greenland movie out, which is all about, asteroids coming in that basically are going to threaten all life on planet Earth. And where do they go? They're going to Greenland. Is there something there? Is there another entrance into inner Earth? Is there, a quick escape route to, save themselves from whatever might befall those on the surface? I know there's a lot of people that believe that too.
Well, that makes sense to me. There's got to be something there that benefits them and only serves them. Otherwise, it wouldn't be so important to secure it.
Yeah, absolutely. So Canada turns to China as Trump's tariffs and threats bring foes together. Strategic partnership, favored trade agreement, working together in definitely a big double middle finger to the U.S. And, you got to wonder, is this going to nudge Trump to take Canada over quickly? And perhaps Greenland too. Are we able to? Is the U.S. able to do that? And here you have Xi Laud's turnaround with key U.S. neighbor. Canada sought a rapprochement with Beijing amid tensions between Ottawa and Washington. So, this is talking about the same thing again. And, this is just out of RT, so this is giving you kind of the Russian take on things. But yeah, absolutely. It's in India and China. It feels like it's almost going to be the entire world against us and maybe Israel.
Yeah, well, this is turning out to look kind of weird.
It certainly is. And again, none of us want to see any fighting. Because the reality is, after these wars and things settle down, what really changes for the average people? It's not the average people. This is all about the megalomania. This is all about the ego. This is all about, that thing that drove Caesar and Napoleon and on and on. There was another channel that's popped up that's giving some, I didn't save the link for you guys. I'll look it up for a future live to give to you guys. But Calling It Like It Is, another channel out of the blue that popped up talking about 1812 and Napoleon and Moscow and Russia, the war there. And that also 1812 was when, Great Britain came and tried to take the U.S. back, so to speak. But the reality is, it wasn't necessarily what the history books say. It's more a war against the remnants of whatever the Tartarian Empire truly was, which maybe that was, a period where we nudged the reptilian, demonic control system out of its roost. And, it was a little bit of that Satan's little season where they have pushed back to gain control back.
Yeah, it could very well be.
It feels like that to me anyway. That's a fascinating subject. Meanwhile, in Iran, you have all sorts of protests still going on. We don't know. We don't have a clue how many people have died. But you could look to the old documents, like this 1953 was a classified document talking about the coup in Iran that overthrew its democratically elected leader and consolidated all power under the Shah. Again, and now they're looking to the Shah's relatives to come back and take over. They're all puppets. And, that's a good example of the puppetry that goes on. We know that, these bigger countries install puppets in the little countries, but the reality is the leaders in the big countries themselves are typically puppets themselves.
Well, definitely there's something pretty horrific going on, and it does feel like a huge disconnect from humanity, because these people over there, the ones that are suffering the most, are probably the most innocent.
And then you have Gaddafi's daughter warning Iranians negotiating with the wolf will not save the lamb. Aisha Gaddafi sent a message to the people of Iran, don't trust the West, or you'll end up like Libya. She says her father gave up nukes hoping for peace, but got bombed by NATO instead, and Libya drowned in blood. And of course, he met with a brutal, violent end that Hillary Clinton seemed to just be absolutely gleeful about.
Yeah, she's pretty weird.
Talk about Wicked Witch of the West casting. I mean, Hillary would be the best.
Yeah, she should have been. Maybe she was. We just didn't recognize her.
I swear that cackle sounded just like going back to the Wizard of Oz.
I think so.
Yeah, and when you look to Iran, it was Persia. It was Persia. And again, it was loaded with the Anunnaki when they first got here. Oh man, and yet, it is a diverse country, and in fact, it was very, very secular. Before, again, the Muslim fundamentalism took over. This is a train station that they're showing some of the photos and artwork of, dedicated to the Virgin Mary. They say somehow this has a little bit of a serpentine feel to it, kind of give me feels of the Vatican there. Yeah, this is just a mess right now. Everything that we see is just a mess. And when you have the fact that the military budget, like the UK here, their budget hole is a classified secret. They don't tell you exactly what they spent the money on. Well, every time the Pentagon's been audited, there's trillions missing. Yeah, and they don't tell you where. Where did it go? We don't know. It's just gone. And yet, if if the IRS came knocking, said, "Where'd the money go? You're supposed to send us." I don't know. It's just gone. Come with us, because they're going to confiscate your land and they're going to throw you in jail. This is just a ridiculous reality. Defense Ministry unable to fund all their plans under their current budget due to a $37.5 billion budget gap. Britain's military chief has acknowledged a multi-billion-dollar defense budget shortfall exists, but the details are a classified secret. Yeah, it's probably going to all sorts of luxury properties that all these people in the know are buying up all over the world.
Mm-hmm. And they can just keep doing it as long as everyone stays quiet. They can do that.
No one brings up a really good point. And I won't say it word for word, but you can see what it is in the chat. And what I get too is I really wonder if Trump is doing the old, when you're weak, actually feigns strength. The art of war. Is it really an art of war situation? Because certainly under Biden, everything kind of was rapidly decaying. And, again, there was a lot of decisions that were made that were obviously not very good for the welfare of the people making the decisions on the overall order. So, is this a lot of bravado and bluffing when really you're very vulnerable? Or, again, do you have the backing of truly godlike power behind you that's unknown?
As far as what they did with the troops and making them do all the things and all the ouchies, I know for a fact there's some very good people out there who might be in control of who gets an ouchie and who doesn't, that could very well have just, just did things as a favor, and didn't do what we think they may have done. So maybe there's something there that we don't know, because I do know that there's good people out there.
Yeah, that's a good point too. So, there's a lot of things taken into consideration, and there is help on from the higher densities. Bank records allegedly show Senator Lindsey Graham laundering significant Ukraine war funds via Latvia into his own accounts, per ex-CIA officer Larry Johnson. Yeah, he's a warmonger through and through. I don't know how some of these people are not in jail. It's just mind-boggling. Well, I do know, because the judges are corrupt too.
Indeed.
Yeah, I mean, that's the reality. Clinton-appointed federal judge denies DOJ bid to access California voter registration rolls. Oh, no. Yeah, you can't see the voter registration rolls. It's unprecedented. It's illegal for the government to actually see what's going on. In a 33-page decision. Yeah, 33-page, exactly. We get the picture there. Clinton appointed U.S. District Judge David O. Carter sided with California, saying the DOJ cannot use civil rights legislation as a tool to forsake the privacy rights of millions of Americans, noting that such authority rests solely with Congress. Yeah, and this leads to the next thing, which is Trump on the 2026 midterms. We shouldn't even have an election. Why? Because, again, what we just looked at, the fact that you don't know how many states are literally going to rig it. I mean, what else are you going to say? Rig the elections. This is the reality. This is what he's stating. How can we have elections when we don't know if they're going to be rigged?
It's almost like there's an underlying thing going on there.
But what's the alternative? Because, when you look to Zelensky, he hasn't had elections, and you have a dictator. So what's your alternative? a corrupt system where the elections might be rigged, or just acquiescing to a dictatorship.
I know. I don't know.
Where's the answer lie, guys? Let's see. Who could we... Max, do you have any answer for that? Maybe KK or K-Heads has a good idea on that. Again, it's where we are. It's kind of like caught between a rock and a hard place. You're going to jump out of the frying pan into the fire. What happens if he cancels the elections? Maybe that is part of this. What if we're at war and he cancels all the elections? What if we have the Insurrection Act, put into effect, and, he all of a sudden takes away the Minnesota Governor Walz and maybe Gavin Newsom? Maybe he just, bumps them out of their positions. How are the citizens going to handle that? How are we all going to handle that? Well, my intent is peaceful, but I'm not going to shut up.
All right. Well, that's what we're all doing here. We're putting out the intention for something peaceful.
Yeah. Jen, I think 2028, I think it would be, it might be a long shot that there will be an election in 2028 for more than one reason. Yeah, it's really very interesting to see all this craziness. In South Africa, you have some chaos going on. You have persistent rainfall, submerged roads, Kruger National Park inaccessible to visitors. I don't know if you could make out the houses. Again, massive flooding everywhere you look. It's all around the globe. The mud flood thing, it just seems to keep accelerating, and it doesn't matter where we look. It's on every continent. And then the food revelations, the company Lindt, Lindt chocolate, I've bought that in the past. I mean, it's probably been about 10 years, but their dark chocolate bars contain significant amounts of lead and cadmium. Heavy metal poisoning is a reality. When people get any sort of cognitive disease diagnosis, I automatically am like thinking it could be more than one thing, but definitely heavy metal poisoning, heavy metal toxicity.
And you have to be balanced with your minerals too, because if you're not balanced with your minerals and you're taking this stuff in, all of that lead and that cadmium, it's going to stick in the body. So balance really has to come to the forefront.
Yes, absolutely. And, what we're finding out is it's hard to find brands that you really could trust. And when you do find them that you trust them, then they get bought out by companies you can't trust. And when you see that so much of the food, perhaps the majority of it, is toxic or contaminated in some way, you got to say, wait a minute. Once, twice, maybe it's just, some leadership that doesn't really care and they just want to make more profit. But when you see it time and time and time again, you start to say, is this completely purposeful? Are they purposely sabotaging our health? Because how could you not think that?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that's true. How can you not think that?
Absolutely, and there's so much of an awakening going on. And, when we look to that term that came out in 1969, it happened to come out at the exact same time that a big campaign to do a certain, happened. There's no coincidences. There's none, it's just the conditioning, and then the thought that, well, we can't afford to eat healthy. How could anybody afford to eat unhealthy? That's really the bottom line. The agriculture secretary says it's easy. A healthy meal for $3. Yeah, Brooke Rollins made waves this week with claims that the Trump administration's revamped food pyramid leaves plenty of room for Americans to maintain a healthy diet for as little as $3 a meal. Again, I've heard a ton of people say the only thing they could afford to eat is off the dollar menu or very, very cheap things. But we eat super healthy, and it doesn't have to be expensive. I made authentic chicken tikka masala tonight, and it's organic rice. Now I got a 50-pound bucket of rice that we use. So when you look at it, the rice is really cheap when you buy it in bulk. The chicken costs under $10, and it was organic, and it's chicken that we trust. Again, we're not getting anything that's injected with carrageenan, nothing coming from the big supermarkets. We are lucky that we live about a half hour away from a really good, healthy store, as well as a really good farmer's market, which provides us with really good sources and options as far as the food goes. So when I was just trying to think, well, how much did that dinner really cost me tonight to put together? And, in its entirety, I would say about $12. Mm-hmm. And you divide it by Cindy and I, that's $6 each. And we just basically only eat one meal a day anyway. So we have a protein shake, which might cost like another $2 or $3. So we probably ate for $10 to $12 each today in total, and it was healthy.
It was really yummy too.
Yeah, so it can be done. It really, really can be done. And if, say, you're vegetarian and you buy lentils in bulk, lentils are great food, very inexpensive when you buy in bulk. There's definitely ways to eat healthy on the cheap, on the relatively cheap. Now, if you're talking about things that are all cooked for you and you don't have to do the cooking, that could be a different story.
That gets really expensive, but no one says you have to have the cash up front to buy in bulk, and a lot of people don't have that option. I know you might have to save up a little bit to get the bucket of rice that we got. The organic rice might cost a little bit, but then you break it down. So it's tough decisions. There are no easy answers, but I think the important answer is we have to do better with the food we put in our mouth, or you pay later at the doctor's office.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So it can definitely be done, but convenience is the name of the game for a lot of people. And a lot of people are, their schedules are such that they might not think they have time to cook. And that's where we get caught into these situations. This is just an atrocity, but it shouldn't be something that we didn't see coming. Supreme Court has decided to allow Bayer to make a case for immunity from harm. This could be one of the most important decisions in modern Supreme Court history. Bayer is asking to avoid responsibility for Roundup, even though tens of thousands of people have died and suffered serious health effects and cancer. We cannot let these companies get immunity from harm. This should never, ever happen. They have to be held accountable. And again, the people that are actually making the decisions need to be held accountable. So again, the worst case scenario, Bayer could go bankrupt, but the same people could start a brand new company. They could, start up, instead of Bayer, Mayor, and do the whole thing all over again and not suffer any penalties. The system itself is completely atrocious. It's just an atrocious system. So Wales becomes the first country to enforce rules allowing politicians to lose their jobs for lying. If politicians lost their jobs for lying, we would have no politicians.
A whole big zero.
Yeah, there wouldn't be any politicians.
Nope.
Absolutely. That's a good thing. See, there are some good things. There really, really are some good things. Copper water bottles aren't a trend. They disrupt an entire industry. Copper naturally purifies water, restores charge, brings back to a living state. Hydration was never just about water. So, again, and we had copper pipes, and we could look all the way back to the Roman times when the leaders in Rome ancient Rome decided to, hey, let's not use copper, let's use lead. Oh, was that a good decision?
You know, you really still have to be very careful, though. I know copper is like a popular thing right now, but anytime something gets really popular and they say, oh, do this, do this, do this, do this, you got to watch out for balance. So you need your copper and your zinc absolutely needs to be in balance. If not, there can be poor immune function and hormone imbalances, mood issues, and slower healing. So yeah, copper is a good thing, but make sure your minerals are balanced.
Yes, absolutely. And, again, we're learning that we had quite a few things in the past better figure out than we do now. Look at the size of this wall. Look at the size of this wall. 800-ton stones? Just horse and buggy? Yeah, no.
No, I mean, that must have been a chisel and hammer.
Look at the size of that. I mean, the size of a person and the size of that wall. It's just massive. But the stone is so good for so many things, to allow you to really feel peace. Sacsayhuaman, this is in Cusco, Peru, provides a strong visual argument for ancient softening techniques. Absolutely. Peru, Mexico, Bolivia, all over the world, they were able to soften the rock, work with it, and perhaps even levitate it with sound.
That's what I think they did.
Anything else? No.
At the moment.
Yeah, again, it's more and more people are getting the same ideas because their pineal glands are getting turned on, and that's the biggest thing. How about this? What do you make of this? It looks like it got melted.
Now, those are some of those things that do portal jumping, as you can see, like the computer board carved out on the wall there.
Yes, and havoc. That's called a reset. Yeah, absolutely. So, okay, guys, let me ask you. Type in chat, or if you're watching this later, type in the comments. How many resets do you think we've had in the last 2,000 years? 1? None? 5? 10? I mean, I'm just curious. How many resets, restarts do you think we've had, say, in the last 2,000 years? I'm really curious what you guys think, because it's come to my mind that as I've looked into this more and more, the more and more I think that these resets, they happen way more than people were thinking.
I think they definitely happen more than what people think.
KK says 6. Tertiarian Vagabond says 4. So that would be one every 350 years or so, maybe one every 500 years. Scott says 3. No one says at least 2. Yeah, it's and what do you think caused this? Was this natural? This melting effect? Was this just simply carved into, a normal rock? This is just a normal rock. There's nothing there. It's carved into it. Or was this some sort of, beautiful building that perhaps got hit by some sort of directed energy weapon, or maybe a frequency weapon, or maybe if you have the ability to soften rocks and maybe levitate them into place, then does somebody also have the ability to use it in a weapon-like manner?
Mm-hmm. Why not?
That would only be logical, wouldn't it, guys? Okay, so 15 seems too many, John and Jen say. 7, Vina Lind. 5, but I'm on my last, says Emperor Rex. And over here, again, these blocks, they're always a favorite. Again, we look to Peru and Bolivia. I mean, obviously, it's like these are coming out of some sort of 3D printing, It's just pretty wild. And look at the straightness here. You got the drill marks right through. They're spaced perfectly apart. Absolute straight lines. Yeah, this is not hand and chisel. How did we buy that before? How did we ever buy? Do we just not look, 20, 30, 40 years ago or more?
And then those round circles there.
Yeah, absolutely. And, this photo says everything. This right here, 1980 photo of a Soviet helicopter flying by Bamiyan Buddhas in Afghanistan. These colossal wonders of the world stood for at least 1,500 years before they were destroyed in 2001. More than one thing was destroyed in 2001, as we all know. Just think about this. This is what war is about. It's about erasing history so people can't figure out what's really going on.
Yeah, and keeping people tired and sick, too.
Yeah, absolutely. War gives an excuse for a ton of things. All of a sudden, too, there could be, again, different diseases popping up, and you wonder if somebody did that. Did they, plan some sort of biological warfare? You have all sorts of things. Of course, the military-industrial complex makes tons of money, but so do the people that make money off of, again, soldiers that are going to need different things in the medical field or the pharmaceutical field. It brings in tons of money. And then how about the counseling and the rehab? And it just goes on and on.
It's nonstop, the cyclical nature of how much trauma and then how much money they put out there to help heal the trauma, and then they give more money for experiments to try to work on the trauma. It's really a disgusting system.
So Robbie says, I feel 5 or 6 big major resets, several other minor ones, and baby resets between those. Sin Havoc, 20 resets at least, so like one every 100 years. Giants, the whole situation of the Giants too. John and Jen, I'll say 10's hard because there's so many strange pictures out there again. Yeah, it is hard. How about this one? Our model of the universe is deeply flawed unless space is actually a sticky fluid. Wait a minute. Are you saying that space is maybe a little bit more like water? Wait a minute. Our best models of the cosmos, and this is live science, which is basically coming from NASA. Our best models of the cosmos don't add up, but that could change if the universe is actually made of a viscous fluid, a new paper suggests. Recent observations have revealed that our understanding of the cosmos is flawed, but it may be because the universe is stickier than we assumed, new research proposes. In a paper that was published on the RXIV preprint server but has not been peer-reviewed yet, Mohammed Ghulam Khwaja Khan, a researcher at the Indian Institute of Technology, suggests that space may possess a property called bulk viscosity. Viscosity is a measure of how much a fluid resists flowing or changing shape. I always think of it as kind of like a thickness thing. I guess it's a density, you could say. Like the difference between pouring water versus honey. In this case, we are talking about the bulk viscosity of the vacuum itself, a ghostly resistance that occurs when space expands. Well, again, we do not think that space is a vacuum. I think that's...
How would the sun work?
Yeah, how would the sun work in a vacuum? I mean, there's just so many things that are totally illogical about it being a vacuum.
It's just really, really goofy. I mean, the thing that I feel when I feel out in outer space, first, the energy, it's silky. It actually has a touch to it, and it's silky. And, it's right somewhere between water and air that we have now. So that's what you got.
Somewhere between water and air. And you could move your hand through the air and you feel it. There's a resistance. You could feel that you're moving through something. So space would feel even more resistant than the air.
Right, and less resistant than water.
Mm-hmm.
But silky. You can't forget the silky feeling.
That's interesting. Yeah. Yeah, it's really fascinating to think about that. Traditionally, scientists have used a simple model to describe the universe, and this model, known as lambda CDM, dark energy, the mysterious force responsible for the accelerating expansion of the universe, is a steady, unchanging background known as the cosmological constant. However, data from the Dark Energy Spectroscopic Instrument, DESI, which is mounted on the Mayal telescope at Kitt Peak National Observatory in Arizona, released last year, hinted that something may be fundamentally wrong with our understanding of dark energy. Is it there? That might be the first question. Or exactly what are you talking about? Are you literally talking about, of course, the ether, the life force, that which springs everything from? The new observations showed a slight mismatch between our standard theories and the actual observed rate at which galaxies are zipping away from us. To explain this discrepancy, Khan has proposed a model involving spatial phonons. In solid-state physics, phonons are essentially a collective vibration of atoms in a crystal. But Khan applied this idea to the fabric of space itself. He suggested that these longitudinal vibrations, which would act as sound waves of the vacuum, could be responsible for a viscous effect that slowed the expansion of the cosmos just enough to match what we see in the sky. By treating the universe as a viscous fluid, the model introduces a drag on cosmic expansion. As space stretches, these spatial phonons slosh around, creating a pressure that opposes the outward push. In fact, the study shows this simple database model fits the DESI data with great precision, potentially solving some of the headaches caused by standard cosmological constant. But we should tread lightly. This is merely a guess. Okay. It seems like they've guessed wrong most of the time, or they've intentionally given us misinformation.
And this is so cute. If you go to little desert towns in certain areas, you get these little guys that are, if they're tamed, they'll stick their head in your car and smile.
Yeah, he looks like he's been brushing his teeth.
He is a cutie.
Absolutely, and so are you guys. We appreciate you. And let us definitely put out some positive vibes today. And Cindy will give us dings again. There's just so much going on out there. All this chaos is very, very intentional, of course. There's more than one thing going on. You do have the disintegration of the dark control system, which is trying with all its might to keep control and to, in fact, try to gain more control over us. And we also have the natural order of things exerting its influence through, again, increased frequencies, the light, which, again, light itself is information that's activating our pineal glands, awakening us in our own intuition. Again, this is a time of great revelation, and that just simply means that we're going to start to get it. We're going to start to understand what's been going on the whole time. And when we do, then the entire system is really in trouble. And that's exactly why we have all the chaos.
That's why we all need each other. Safety in numbers, safety in numbers. So special thanks to Max and Chris. You guys, thanks so much for your support tonight. That really helps us keep things going and pull us all together like we did tonight, so we can make these positive intentions and at times bring prayer for people. And there are some EEARTS family members. I don't want to say names, but there are some that are recovering from a pretty big surgery and some that just need peace in their home. So let's put that intention out there. So here we go.
And if you guys, always feel free to just ask for healing energy, ask for whatever for yourself or for others, and we'll make note of it and we'll send out energy together.
Here we go. Thank you so much, Source. Bless and namaste.
Loka samasta, Suki no bhavantu. May all beings everywhere be happy and free. And may my actions, words, thoughts, and deeds contribute to that happiness and the freedom for all. As always, guys, we love you. Source bless and namaste.